all the good news seem to be coming together, and we'll start the discussion with that. Varun, Goel, and of course, Nooresh and Kunal are here. But quick word on index. Kunal, we were talking in the morning how difficult it would be to trade this kind of a market. Stop losses on both long and shorts getting triggered, is it not?
Absolutely. So, yesterday was, as you rightly said,
Resurgent, yes.
the markets, but today seems to be a completely different, day altogether. In technical parlance, and it's a very interesting pattern. It's called as a sandwich pattern for the candlesticks on the last 3 days. So 2 days of green candle and then a red candle in between. It's actually called that kind of a terminology. It generally indicates that possibly the markets have formed some sort of a near to medium term bottom, and I think the only confirmation which one should be waiting out for to create an index trade is to wait out for yesterday's high to be taken out. I think that's 19,765 on the spot level. So maybe another 40-50 points on the upside, and that pattern could get completed.
Okay, that pattern, sandwich or not, will get completed. But Nooresh, have to get your word about Pharma. A solid traction here. Will you continue buying into the names, or is it getting a bit dizzy now?
So it's getting into a place of a breakout actually rather than being dizzy. So if you look at Sun Pharma, it's on verge of a breakout about 1160-65. Dr. Reddy's had seen a correction and is recovering. Same is the case with the DV's lab, which is trying to make a breakout. Granules had seen follow-up moves. So overall, across the board looks pretty promising. And the last 3 to 6 month leaders were Aurobindo, Pharma, and Lupin. They've both hit new 52-week highs. So it's very clear the momentum is coming back into the pharma space. One has to be selective and continue to ride on to this move. So positive on pharma, positive on the index as well. Like we discussed yesterday, it was more about a lot of rejects happening yesterday in the last 1 hour. And we've created a similar bottom, which happened last month as well on 31st August. So it could be interesting once we cross 19,760 on the Nifty, say 44,750, 800 on the bank Nifty, that would be a confirmation of a momentum reversal on the upside.
Okay, momentum reversal on the upside. That's a take coming in. So, of course, we're talking about that Lupin news that US FDA determined that the inspection classification of the facility is voluntary action indicated, and the EIR has been also issued. We'll try and actually get more sense from Shrishti on this, whether they have received the EIR or was it in the VAI category earlier as well. But in the meantime, Varun, your bets when it comes to the pharma sector, is it more domestic facing names that you're looking, or is it export? Because the price erosion in US seems to have stabilized quite a bit. Which are the areas that you are watching out for when it comes to the pharma sector?
Good afternoon, Anisha. Thanks for having us on the show. So as far as we are concerned, we are clearly believe that the India formulation story remains extremely attractive. It has been a 10% kind of compounding story for a long time, and we see there are certain players which are growing at a slightly faster pace than that because of distribution coverage and more reaching out to more doctors. So we continue to prefer the domestic formulation story. Having said that, even as far as the US generics market is concerned, I think a lot of price damage which was happening in the last few years is kind of stabilized now, and we believe that things will be much more reasonably paced from this point onwards. And as such, some of the companies which have a large presence in US generics market should also be doing okay. Also, additionally, I think as far as the overall healthcare space is concerned, there is much faster growing opportunities in the hospitals and the diagnostic side. I think we are seeing a very large shift from organized to organized, especially in the hospitals and the diagnostic space. So that sector we believe should continue to do very well for a long period of time. We are seeing a lot of regional chains coming in where people are having a strong presence in 1 or 2 states and then kind of expanding from a cluster perspective. So that space with high return on equity, good capital efficiency, good dividend payout remains a secular theme from a compounding perspective.
Varun, I want to talk about, one of the groups in the market, one big conglomerate, metal and mining, with all interests also in oil. Let's not name it, but I want to understand, in the last 3-4 years, tell me if I'm wrong, I've heard so many different kinds of, we've heard about delisting, we've heard about stake sale, a buyback, and now there appears to be initial plans of a massive restructuring, spinning off all the different kind of businesses into separate companies. How does market, temporarily, yes, of course, traders may get excited on that one, but on a portfolio call, on asset allocation into such a name, how would market actually read into all of this?
So broadly, Ajay, we have very little understanding of global cyclicals. So as such, our exposure to this sector is fairly limited. Our sense, based on my experience in the markets of last 16, 17 years, permanent destruction of capital happens always for two reasons. One is too much debt, and second is because of poor corporate governance. So as a prudent investment metric, our belief is that if we can avoid these two things, permanent destruction of capital can be avoided. Of course, stocks will still go up and down depending on their shorter term, fundamental performance on profits and sales and EBITDA. But if we can keep in mind these two factors, permanent loss of capital is avoided, and therefore, from our portfolio construction perspective, we always keep these two parameters, a very very high place in terms of when we are eliminating stocks or selecting stocks for our portfolio.
Yes, it becomes difficult to invest in such volatile names as well. In fact, let's do one thing. Let's go across to Somit to try and understand what the latest news flow is about Hindustan Zinc, because, of course, they are talking about value unlocking for their various segments and getting on an external consultant on board to do that. And overnight, of course, there was this news about Vedanta as well, that they have managed to prepay some of their loans, or at least they're trying to do that. Let's go across to Somit to get the perspective on all this news flow.
Well, what the announcement has come in from Hindustan Zinc's side currently is the fact that the company is looking to demerge its four units, that is zinc, lead, silver and recycling business. Now, out of these four businesses, zinc and silver are the bigger one, and recycling business is still not kicked off on a larger way for Hindustan Zinc. But why they are looking to do so? To create more value for shareholders. Now, a couple of days back, there were also a media report which suggested that Vedanta is also looking to demerge its four units which are metal, power, aluminium and oil and gas business. So this kind of indicates that there could be some corporate restructuring in works for the entire Vedanta group company, that is Vedanta Limited and Hindustan Zinc, and that is one of the major reasons why we are seeing such kind of up move when it comes to Hindustan Zinc and Vedanta also in trade. Also today morning, another news announcement had come in for Vedanta, and that was the fact that the company had prepaid some of its loan amount to its borrowers. So a lot of positive news flows coming in for the Vedanta group companies, that is Hindustan Zinc and Vedanta. At this moment, only Hindustan Zinc has come out with this announcement where they are looking to demerge their different businesses into different listed entities going ahead, and this will be done to unlock more value for the shareholders. Still no details on what will be the share swap ratio or what will be the valuations that the company is looking at. Only an announcement that the company might consider demerging its businesses into different units.
Okay, so that is the specific story which we are talking about, which passingly Varun Goel was also referring to. Let's see how it goes from here on. But let's also talk about another area of the market which is very excited in trade. In fact, the full rebound happened. Varun, you have some mid-cap IT names in your portfolio, if I'm not wrong. And what is your call on IT? Are you of the camp which believes everything is priced in, or are you of the camp that believes that growth structurally is becoming, in a low kind of a trajectory, low single-digit kind of trajectory, or you are choosing names which are high growth but in mid-cap side?
So broadly, Ajay, what we have been doing is that there has been a phenomenal rally in several mid-cap and small-cap stocks, especially on the, let's say, defense, engineering, capital goods side. So what we have done is we have taken some money off the table, booked some profits in stocks where we thought valuations was running ahead of fundamentals, and allocated to three sectors, which is, pharma, media, and select IT. I think these three sectors look poised to do well in the next few years. I think IT has been going through a lot of headwinds in terms of deals not getting consummated, decision making was slow. I think maybe 1 or 2 quarters more we see the sluggishness, and post which we believe that the organic growth rate should start reviving. A big problem for a lot of IT companies, especially the mid and the small cap ones, in the last 2 years was attrition, which has now come very much under control. So from a margin perspective, we see things getting better, and we believe revenue growth should start accelerating from Q3 onwards. And therefore, we believe a lot of small and mid-cap names, there is an opportunity to do bottom-up stock picking. And we remain quite constructive on selective names.
So Word coming in, IT poised to do better. The growth rate should pick up. And as far as the deal wins are concerned, no complaints on that because the companies have been managing to back big orders. You know, the other one that I want to discuss apart from IT, which has managed to bounce back very strongly from the lows, that's the stock of MCX. At the start of the trading session, the screen was looking very different for it when SEBI had put the transition in abeyance. Now, of course, our colleague also got us exclusive details about why SEBI had done that, what kind of questions were actually raised by those, some of the traders in Chennai. And now we understand, and the company has clarified to exchanges that by October 3rd, they will come up with a reply. And hopefully after that, we'll see the transition happening. But before I go to Ankur, let me take the view from Kunal as well. Kunal, you were very positive on the counter in the morning when you said that dip should be bought. The trade has worked out really well. Where do we go from here on? Because the stock is now at record high
Very
level.
clearly, he said this dip should be bought.
Yes, and I would still maintain that this could be a start of a very big uptrend for MCX. This may not just be a short-lived uptrend that, over the last 2 days you've seen some 8%, 9% up move for the stock price. Today also intraday recovery of more than 9-10% for the stock price. I strongly believe that this is a possibly start of a very big uptrend for the stock. For the first time, I think it's crossed back about that 2135 mark, which was the previous major high for MCX, and I strongly believe that these are the kind of instances which lead the stock into a strong uptrend. We've seen that historically for so many of the stocks, so I would probably believe that we can expect some sort of replication happening for MCX.
Fair enough. Let's go across to Ankur to get the latest on that as to what the story and context is.
Yes, MCX has now confirmed that market regulator has received a letter from an investor group and it has raised concerns regarding the technology for the new launch. Remember, ET now had earlier reported that SEBI has taken an action against MCX new launch, in fact kept in abeyance because there has been a complaint which has been received by an investor group and questions were raised on the technology front, and now SEBI will hold a meeting of its committee called Technical Advisory Committee, and we understand that that meeting may happen as early as next week itself. In this meeting itself, the issues which has been raised by the investors will be discussed on how on the technology front, MCX is ready for the new launch. Until that time, SEBI has kept the new launch in abeyance. Also, investor group has moved Madras High Court and it has sought relief from the court. We need to wait and see what actually comes out of the court proceedings because that has not begun yet. But as far as SEBI is concerned, we understand that the committee will decide on the issues which has been raised by the investor group.
Thanks so much for putting that into perspective, Ankur. But time now to slip it a very short break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we discuss more stocks with the guests on the show.
All right, so while market has done a rebound, let's talk about what areas of the market should you buy in panic-like situation. Varun, what are you researching on right now? Or are you finding it a little challenging to really good for juicy opportunities, especially in the mid-cap, small-cap?
So Ajay, there is no doubt that there has been a big run-up in the small and the mid-cap space in the last few months. But I think there are enough opportunities for bottom-up stock picking, especially if you are building a portfolio for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I know, like I was mentioning, there are enough opportunities in sectors like IT and pharma. Media is, I think, another sector which looks extremely attractive. I think in the run-up to the elections in, assembly elections in November and then going into the general elections in May, there is a lot of advertisements which will happen, and the media companies, both broadcast and print, will benefit out of that. So that is another space that we have recently begun to add into. Pharma, of course, there is the domestic formulation space continues to be an evergreen opportunity, and we continue to incrementally like some of the US generic-based opportunities also. Midcap IT, of course, remains attractive selectively. I think the most attractive pocket of the market from a valuations perspective is clearly banking. With the way we are seeing revival in capex-related lending, corporate lending, and of course, retail lending continues to do well for last several years. I think the credit growth for this year too should be of the order of 14 to 15%.
Varun, let me come in
the
over
last
here.
full year of
I'll come to you on lenders 1 second. Varun, I wanted to, Anisha and I have been discussing this media opportunity for some time because we understand the space, I think, a little bit. And the visibility on, ad growth, etc., has improved. But are you referring to the newspaper basket, the 3 newspaper which are going to also benefit from state elections over and above the general elections where usually the ad and all goes up? Are you referring to them, or the 2 media companies, are you referring to the listed ones?
Yeah, so I'm talking about both broadcast, or you can say TV and print, should do well. If you see, FMCG companies across the board are looking at increasing their advertisement spends because the volume of take has been muted for the last 12 to 18 months. So we expect advertisement intensity to increase. Of course, elections are an added incentive for the next 6 to 9 months. So overall, we believe advertisement spends in the economy are going to get better. Also, in the last 3-4 quarters, as the commodity prices have cooled off, some of that margin benefit will also get directed towards the advertisement growth. So we believe, whether it's broadcast or print, both sectors should be able to benefit from the increase in advertisements.
So that's about the media space, both broadcast as well as the newspaper industry is looking good. But just let's shift back our view on Pharma, and Lupin is one stock that we were talking about. The Nagpur facility has got the fresh EIR. What does it really mean, and what's the importance of this Nagpur unit? Let's go across to Shrishti to get that information. Hi, Shrishti.
Well, yes, a positive news coming in on Lupin, where its new facility, that is Nagpur Facility Unit 1, has got a clean sheet from US FDA, where the company informed that its Nagpur Unit 1 manufacturing facility has received an EIR from US FDA, where the facility is actually into manufacturing of the oral solid dosage forms. And this EIR was actually issued post the last inspection of this facility back on July 2023, and EIR has been received today, where US FDA has determined the inspection classification as VAI, that is voluntary action initiated, and that's definitely a positive news coming in on for Lupin. Why so? Because you will remember that all these major facilities of Lupin has been under scanner and given objections by US FDA, be it Goa facility, Pithampur, Mandideep, Goa. All these have received warning letters as well as observations from US FDA, though Goa has came out, even Pithampur Unit 2 facility has come out from the US FDA scanner. But because all these major facilities were under US FDA scanner, so Lupin actually shifted all of its new dosage for US FDA and the formulations of that to Nagpur facility. And Nagpur facility is a new facility which till date hasn't received any sort of an objection from US FDA. So now this facility getting approval and a clean sheet from US FDA means that going ahead, all these approvals or all these key launches in the US markets, the gate for all these approvals opens as this facility comes out of the US FDA scanner and receives an EIR. That's why this news is positive for Lupin, and we are seeing the stock holding up a gains of around 4%.
Thanks very much for that. So this is a meaningful one, 4%, almost 1200. Varun, there are 2 baskets, or if we talk about the 2 baskets out of many which exist in pharma, one the generic Lupins of the world, generic exporters to the West. The other one, India-centric companies with very high growth but high valuations also. Which one offer better value in pharma, in your view? The 4-5 top names, exporters of the world, or India plays?
So, across our portfolios, we always had, 4-5% exposure to the India formulations business. I think that's like a quasi FMCG business in terms of high ROEs. I know growth has been around 10-12%, but our sense is for those companies which are expanding their geographical footprint or adding new therapeutical segments, for them the growth can be 14-15%. So that is a very, very interesting and evergreen kind of an opportunity. So we definitely have a preference over that. Like I said, off late, with the kind of price damage that we're seeing on the US generic side, that seems to have subsided. And we expect even the US generics part to start to do well. We do not expect further stringent methods by the US FDA on the sector as a whole, while ongoing inspections and whatever is routine practice will continue. But by and large, the exponential price decays which were happening seem to have subsided.
So that's about the pharma sector. Just taking stock of what's happening in the market. Hudco is again one name which is propping up. That's high by around 6%. You're also seeing a bit of a move on Chalet Hotels, which is doing well for itself. RR Kabul is up almost 7%. You also have Spandana Spurti up 6-7%. Sobha, JSW Energy, Sun TV, all of them are perking up as we speak. In fact, Nooresh, your view on some of these power names, NTPC, which is having a wild run today, JSW Energy, every dip on that stock keeps getting bought into. And then, of course, REC, PFC, which have been on an orbit of their own.
So the whole basket has been in a good trend for quite some time. If you look at JSW Energy, it is coming back to 2021 highs. So clearly breaking above those 440, 450 makes it much more momentum on the upside. NTPC continues to be in a strong trend. It's just a little overdone in the near term for NTPC, PFC, REC, but the trends remain strong. So there could be small corrections, but the trends are pretty positive. The most interesting name right now is to look at some defensive names in power which have not done well relatively. One is a power grid, which is in knocking distance of an all-time high. And there is NHPC, which has seen a decent correction recently post the OFS of SJVN. Even that one looks interesting at 70, 72. So the names which have not done well could be more promising going forward. But the trend is something which has come after many, many years. So it could be a lasting one across the power pack.
Okay, so those are the names which are the lasting up movers. But Varun, I wanted your take regarding the home improvement theme. A lot of those stocks are doing well, whether it's consumer durables or whether it is, the specialized names, even the cable companies, etc. How do you justify the valuations?
Yeah, our sense is that broadly we are looking at a revival in the residential real estate cycle. I think if we look at for the first time after 2013, we are beginning to see not just good volume of take, but also price hikes across the country. Particularly, I think in the NCR area, the price hikes have been very, very strong. So our sense is this is the beginning of a new real estate residential real estate cycle, and as such, we would prefer to play it through the residential real estate players with good clean balance sheets and good corporate governance. Incrementally, I would believe the wires and cables company, the building material company are also kind of riding on that growth spurt, which may continue for next few years. And as such, the growth will definitely be strong. Yes, I agree that the valuations in some of these names have run up, especially on wires and cables and some of the ancillary space. And as such, one needs to be a little careful in terms of incremental buying from this point onwards.
All right, Varun, we'll let you go on that one. Thank you very much for your time today. Also pull up two NBFC stocks. Nooresh, it appears that the note from Axis seem to have done well for M&M Finance and L&T Housing Finance. And these two have done very well actually. L&T Housing Finance from 80 to 100 was a kind of range. It never used to cross that level. Pull up L&T Housing Finance, but L&T Finance, sorry. But it appears that it has crossed that range and gone into a new territory above 120. Even today, 5% higher. Let's start with that. Nooresh, do you think it's a good trade if one has got into it early today? Or what levels can one look at getting back into?
So as of now, we are still consolidating on both of these names. So we had a large move from March. Bottoms in L&T Finance holding went up from 85 odd levels to 135, 140. Last 4 months, we've been consolidating. So once we cross 135 and sustain for a few sessions, that would be a short-term breakout. So the trends longer term are positive. Short term, it is still a consolidation. Same way, Mahindra and Mahindra Financial has been pretty range bound, but once it crosses 325 levels, that would be a fresh breakout. So the structure is positive, but maybe it could take some more time to break out, but still remains a buy on dips, and eventually, say maybe a couple of weeks out, could break out going forward.
Taken. So that is the word coming in on M&M Financials, which has been a fresh initiation from Axis Capital and a target price increase coming in on L&T Finance by the brokerage house. But let's take the closing trade picks from our chartists as well. Nooresh?
So that would be a buy on SBI. The stock has consolidated well enough in a tight range for quite some time. A breakout would be in play above 600, 605, and it's not far away from an all-time high of 620, 630. So this is a preemptive buy here, could eventually cross into new all-time highs.
Preemptive buy and wishing for those all-time highs on SBI. Kunal?
I'll go with closing trade as RBL Bank. The stock has already made a fresh 52-week high about 250 mark today. So expecting this momentum to continue for RBL Bank.
Okay, so that's a view coming in on RBL Bank as well. So both the picks actually from our chartists coming in from the banking space, SBI as well as the other one, RBL Bank. But you know what? It is the World Heart Day. So as we slip into this very short break, listen into the advice coming in from Dr. Devi Shetty to how to manage your heart and health better. Simple tips coming in. 10,000 steps is what you have to walk, and it's advisable to wear a smartwatch because that will tell you how your heart health is. Listen into that and we'll slip into a very short break.
First message to everyone is that do not wait for your heart to break down. See the doctors before it breaks down. What we call as a preventive maintenance. Wear a smartwatch and try to walk at least 8 to 10,000 steps per day. There are now a lot of research articles publishing that 10,000 steps per day has a magical impact on your health. Sitting is the next cigarette. So it is very important for you to, even I know your job today means you have to sit on the chair most of the time, but every 20 minutes, get up, try to do some work standing, then you sit. Every half an hour, get up out of the chair, walk for 2-3 minutes, then come back and sit. I recommend everyone to practice yoga. I know everybody wants to build big muscles. Even I was like that. I loved bodybuilding. I used to participate in all these contests, but nothing like yoga. Yoga has a magical impact on your life. Believe me, at least for 10-15 minutes every day, practice yoga. And then please quit smoking. Check your weight. Have a weighing machine at home, which gives you the weight in pounds, not kilos. When it is in pounds, when it goes down, you quickly see something is happening. And today, the villain is not the oil. Villain is the carbohydrate, rice and chapati. These two things are not very good for you in large quantity. Try to restrict the carbohydrate. And my last advice to all of you, become spiritual. I'm not saying you should become religious. Become spiritual. Because knowing that somebody up there protecting us, making sure that everything is done the way it should be, is a very, very, very positive force in your life. Good luck. Thank you so much.